Two guys, one movie, third wheel edition.
On ice.
In 3D. Those wolves look too real.
Did you see what I did there with the on ice?
Yes. Yeah. Well, everybody, this is Two Guys, One Movie. This is Steve Arviso.
Charles Musick.
And we are bringing you Frozen.
Let It Go.
Let It Go. It's the edition Disney was too afraid to bring to theaters.
Yes.
A little bit too extreme. And featuring Iceman.
It might be the prequel. I haven't seen Disney's Frozen, so there's a good chance it could be a prequel.
I could see it. I could see it working.
Yes. But if you haven't guessed, we're bringing you the movie called Frozen, which came out in 2010, written and directed by Adam Green.
A couple years before Disney decided to rip off the plot of this film for its animated feature.
Yes.
Though I do think this movie could have been enhanced with a little bit of a musical number here and there. Imagine if the wolves had their own number, kind of like Scar, something like the hyenas.
Yeah, like or like while the other two are sleeping on the chair, she has like a solo or something like that, singing out to the moon. Or it's I Love a Rainy Night or something like that.
But we are bringing you a horror film here. Well, a thriller.
Drama thriller. In my mind, it qualifies as a horror film.
Oh yeah, it's a very tense movie. For as drawn out as it might be, it is very much a very tense thriller. This is featuring Emma Bell, Shawn Ashmore, and Kevin Zegers. You might remember Shawn Ashmore as, coincidentally, Iceman from the X-Men films.
Or you might not.
He was the guy he's the cold guy that shacked up with Anna Paquin and Ellen Page before Ellen Page came out of the closet. So, everyone else, you probably don't know. Emma Bell has been in a few bit parts here and there, a few smaller movies. Kevin Zegers, his biggest fame to claim, as far as I can tell, is being the nice security guard or police officer in Dawn of the Dead, the remake by Zack Snyder.
Emma Bell, if you watch the first, I believe it was the first season of Walking Dead, she was the sister of, I want to say Audrey.
No, not Audrey.
Andrea,
yeah.
Yeah, close. I was close. But basically, this movie, I like it because it's very realistic. If you've ever gone like skiing or anything like that, you have to pay to go on ski lifts, and basically, these three kids, they bribe their way on for the guy who's letting people on, and they basically get left behind.
And by left behind, we don't mean the new Nicolas Cage film.
No.
They
they bribed their way on for one last ski run, and the guy had already, sent up the end of the run flag on the last chair.
A series of kooky events.
They get stuck in the middle of the ski lift and left alone. In the dark, in the snow, and the rain.
And eventually in the wolves.
And I mean, if you've ever been on one of these things, which I have, to go like sledding, never actually skiing, so I haven't gone like super high up on the ones they were on.
Well, it's not you're not living in an 80s film, so nobody's skiing.
But, just being trapped up there, what kept going through my mind when I'm watching this is, what would I do? And I kept running through all these possibilities, and what's really fun is, these guys kind of start, coming up with ideas that I had, and, I'm sure most people would have as well. And let's just say it doesn't work out very well.
Yeah, I mean, it's very true. I mean, like I said at the beginning, the only thing I have to say negative about this film is that it feels like it's a bit drawn out. It feels like it could have, it would have been an incredible short film, or maybe like an hour episode of like some sort of like anthology show. 45 minutes, it would have been tight, very concise, but at times it just seems like it's kind of just going. There's a lot of talking heads in this, despite it being a very tense movie.
This is the type of film that I like, where they're not using green screen. They actually suspended the actors up on this
everything practical.
Huge thing.
They were freezing up there.
It's basically these three characters, and they're progressing the story. They're playing on their emotions, and they're not moving. So to keep someone entertained, I mean, yeah, I can see where there were parts where you could cut here and there.
Yeah.
But overall, it's very enjoyable.
Oh yeah, very enjoyable. I want to say it's not enjoyable.
You're sitting on the edge of your seat, at least most of the time, wondering what the hell's going to happen to these kids.
It's very similar to movies that have a similar premise. It's one location. They're trapped there. It's a ship in a bottle kind of, a scene in a bottle kind of thing. Episode in a bottle, I believe, is the trope on tropes.com or something like that. DVTropes.com.
Maybe it's just me or, our generation.
Yeah.
But it seems like all these horror films now, when I see the trailers and stuff, the kids are always happy-go-lucky, and they have, you know, like, the greatest day of their lives in the opening scene, and then all hell breaks loose.
It's the best.
You almost just
ever.
are, like, rooting for something bad to happen to them, and it's just like, yeah, I can't wait to see them die or something to happen.
You know stuff is going to get really dark and gruesome when they're cheery and happy as the movie starts up.
Yeah, and they always have the really upbeat music, you know.
We did a movie that did exactly that on our list earlier in the month when Cabin in the Woods. Cabin in the Woods started the exact same way. Well,
which I remember seeing
way.
that trailer for the first time, and it's like, you know, people are like, "Oh, this looks kind of good." It's like, it's a horror film. How do you know? You just can tell that these kids are way too damn happy. I mean, but that's the way they do most horror films, and most horror films now are, you know, big, wide, you know, they're very open.
Yeah.
They use a lot of, like, special effects and blood and green screen and stuff like that. This one, a lot of it is, you know, the psychological, like, is someone coming for these people or not? You know, are they going to be trapped up there? And you can start to see on their faces slowly the frostbite and, you know, stuff starts to set in. Trying to think of how to explain it. I like just the progression of everything.
Yeah,
you can just see the deterioration.
Yeah, I mean, you can see them breaking down. You know, and it's really incredible the way that the fact that, you know, we were reading up some trivia on this, and the fact that the director actually got up there and would shoot certain scenes because the camera crew didn't want to climb up that high and hang off the lifts to shoot these people. Because as Charles was pointing out, is that this was all practical. There are no CGI. Everything's done practical effects. This is old school filmmaking, and it shows. You know, everything feels real. You don't feel like these guys are just sitting there against a green screen and pretending to be cold. They're actually cold, and they actually point out that you can tell which scenes were shot earlier in the night as opposed to later in the night because you can't see their breath in certain shots. When you can't see their breath, it's because their body temperature has actually dropped. The actors are actually that cold to the point where their breath no longer produces that puff of
that heat.
Heat, yeah. And that's a lot of dedication from these actors, you know. They could have gotten seriously sick or injured up on there, and
they were also in the trivia. We were seeing that they said they were letting them kind of do their stunts, like with the wolf scene, and the wolves were getting kind of close to the actor. And then they were also saying Kevin Zegers did his own stunt when he jumped out of when he got pushed out of the lift.
No. That was Sean Ashmore.
Sean Ashmore.
Yeah, and to be fair, that stunt wasn't very impressive. It was literally him. He got pushed over by a snowboard asshole.
But still, the fact that, you know, a production would I mean, can you imagine if he broke his leg or something? Just if something did happen, that's a huge lawsuit.
Yeah, especially for a small production, because this we couldn't find the exact production numbers for this, but the movie only drew in about $3-something million overall total gross worldwide. And it only opened up in the U.S., I think 109 theaters is what it said. Something like that. So it was a small production. It was never meant to make a lot of money. So I can only assume it cost maybe 1.5 or something like that. It was low numbers. If Sean Ashmore, anyone got hurt, a wolf attack, you know, that's a lawsuit that would have just crippled these individuals who were producing this film. No one's got to have insurance for that. Where do you sign on an insurance agreement where do you sign up for wolf insurance?
And the fact that they're not
ski lift insurance.
They're not filming, you know, at like on a production studio or anything like that.
They're shot on location in Utah.
So that ski lift would also be responsible, you would think, for some of it as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a nice little movie. I just love it.
Yeah.
And I remember when it came out, you know, I looked up the trailer and it's like, I love this premise. I just like these, you know, small closed movies, little cast, you know, and just the fact that you don't get lost in all these special effects. It's not so much about the gore, you know, terrifying you. I mean, little spoiler, you know, like one of the death scenes is kind of off camera.
Yeah.
So your mind can imagine way more worse things than someone can show you. So they leave that to your imagination. You can imagine all kinds of horrible, horrible things.
Yeah. I mean, it's not so much about the death. It's not so much about the situation itself. It's more about the trauma that these individuals go through.
And you're kind of going through it with them.
Yeah. I mean, there's some gross out moments, and it's not total gross out, but it's more like disturbing kind of gross kind of thing. There are a few gross little moments in there.
The morning scene.
Yeah. Pretty gross. So, again, this is Frozen. with Sean Ashmore, Iceman himself, and not the Disney musical, sadly.
But he's not so comfortable around the ice this time.
No. Though he does take to it a little bit better than the others. I guess it's all that practice he had.
Yes.
But I think that's going to do it for today for Two Guys, One Movie, the third wheel edition. This has been Steve on Ice in 3D.
It's been Charles Musick.
And Steve Arviso.
And it's cold out. There are wolves after